Sports, 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 sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to Sportsball, part of the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. We talk about sports related topics, but we focus on you, the fan, and what you like, whether it's a sport, team, athlete, sports related event, or sports related news. We have been off for a little while, and we've had a lot of sports related things happen over the last couple of weeks. To address a couple of things, I think it's great that Team USA won a hockey gold for both the men and the women. I think it was pretty shitty of the men to not the men's hockey team to not defend the women's hockey team after they, Trump decided, like, oh, I got to invite them to the White House, I guess. And I think SNL did a pretty great job of kind of sticking it to the men's hockey team, despite the fact that I don't think either of those guys who are on SNL felt very comfortable up there. I think a little of that discomfort, there's nothing wrong with that. And for all the people out there who are like, politics doesn't belong in sports, dude, politics is everywhere right now. And athletes have been making stands on things for a long time. So for anybody out there who's like athletes should just shut up and dribble, it's like no, just let them speak out on what they want to speak out on. Just like just as much as I don't agree with like Harrison Butker or Jonathan Isaacs talking about the things that they do, I will defend their ability to speak it. I just don't have to listen to it or don't agree with it or feel comfortable and I do feel comfortable speaking out against it. But for any athlete out there who stays silent when it comes to what happened to Team USA, particularly on the women's side, I think that was really crappy to do, especially since Team USA women's hockey has been just crushing it lately at the Olympics, and I think they deserve just as much recognition as the men do. In other news as well, this past weekend, we were treated to some pretty incredible things when it comes to sports. And the first thing is the World Baseball Classic semifinals between the US and the Dominican Republic. That was a riveting game through and through. Everyone was playing their hearts out. I loved the game. So, shout out to Team USA for winning. The Dominican Republic was a worthy opponent. So, I'm very much looking forward to seeing the World Baseball Classic finals. So, I'm looking forward to that. But let's talk about March Madness. So, March Madness is one of my favorite times of year. I really suck at picking March Madness brackets, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'll do the men's and the women's. So I will start with the East, where I have in the first round, I've got Duke winning against Siena, Ohio State losing to TCU. I've got Northern Iowa upsetting St. John's. I've got CA Baptist upsetting Kansas, which those are my big swings. I kind of kept it pretty chalk for this. I got Louisville advancing against South Florida, Michigan State against North Dakota State, UCLA versus Central Florida, and UConn versus Furman. For the second round for the East bracket, I've got Duke beating TCU, Northern Iowa against CA Baptist, Michigan State over Louisville, and UConn versus UCLA. And then I have Duke Duke beating Northern Iowa, UConn beating Michigan State, and then I have Duke advancing to the Final Four. In the South, I've got Florida winning their opening matchup. I've got Iowa beating Clemson, Vanderbilt beating McNeese, Nebraska beating Troy, North Carolina beating Virginia Commonwealth, Illinois beating Penn, Texas A&M beating St. Mary's, and Houston beating Idaho. I have Houston advancing along with Illinois, Vanderbilt, and Florida. I've got Florida and Illinois going to the final round of the bracket, and then I have Florida coming out of the South. For the West, I've got Arizona beating, who do I have Arizona beating? Arizona beating Long Island. I've got Villanova against Utah State, Wisconsin versus High Point, Arkansas, BYU, Gonzaga, Miami, and Purdue. I've got Miami upsetting Purdue in this next round in this bracket. I've got Gonzaga beating BYU, Wisconsin beating Arkansas, and Arizona beating Villanova. I've got Arizona and Gonzaga advancing, and then I've got Arizona making it into the Final Four. As for the final bracket in the Midwest, I've got Michigan, St. Louis, Texas Tech, Alabama. I've got Miami of Ohio upsetting Tennessee, and Miami of Ohio beating SMU. In that, I've got Virginia, Santa Clara, and Ohio State. I've got in the next round, I've got Ohio State, Virginia, Alabama, and Michigan. And then to advance, I've got Michigan and Virginia. And then finally, Michigan making the Final Four. Again, not the sexiest picks because I have all four number ones advancing for this, but I have Duke and Arizona making it to the championship game, and then I have Arizona being the national champions. So that is my men's bracket. On the women's side, though, same thing. I kind of went all chalk with this. So I have in Region 1, I've got UConn, Syracuse, Murray State as my upset against Maryland, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Illinois, and Vanderbilt. In the next round in Region 1, I've got Vanderbilt, Ohio State, North Carolina, and UConn. I've got UConn and Ohio State advancing. And then the final for this region, I've got UConn winning. In Region 2, I have UCLA, Princeton, Ole Miss, Minnesota, Baylor, Duke, Virginia Tech, and LSU advancing out of the first round. LSU, Duke, Minnesota, and UCLA making it into the next round. I've got UCLA and Duke making it into the final for Region 2, and I've got UCLA advancing to the Final Four. Region 3, I've got Texas, Oregon, Kentucky, Miami of Ohio upsetting West Virginia, Alabama, Louisville, NC State, and Michigan in Region 3. And then I've got Regional 3. Okay, I've got Texas, Kentucky, Louisville, and Michigan advancing. And then I've got Michigan and Texas advancing to get to the Final Four. Oh, well, I missed. Okay, Region 4. For Region 4, I've got South Carolina, USC, Michigan State, Oklahoma, Washington, TCU, and Georgia. I've got TCU, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Iowa advancing. And then I've got TCU and South Carolina going up against advancing to the final. And then I've got South Carolina advancing. Again, all number ones going into the final matchup or the final games for March Madness. And then I've got UConn versus UCLA in the championship game. And then I've got UConn advancing to complete the perfect season on the women's side. Do I know much about college basketball right now? No, not really. But I still enjoyed putting the bracket together nonetheless. And I'm very excited to see what March Madness brings. It's been a great time for sports, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in March Madness on both the men's and women's side. So that's going to do it. What have you been most excited about from a sports standpoint? Let me know in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this episode of Sportsball. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Shout out to HiFlyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you've got any marketing, logo, or brand standard needs, contact them at HiFlyerCreative.com. Check out the other shows on our network. We've got a lot of great content. Really proud of the work that everyone's doing. So please continue to support the SPDM Crew. And finally, if you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM Crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever.